scientists.
Hi.
Good.
Welcome to SF Let's Learning. So we have some questions for you today. Are you ready to get started?
We're ready.
Ready and able.
Yes.
All right. So my first question is a two-parter, and it is, what do you do and why is it important?
Well, what we do in a nutshell is find blight and turn it into beauty. And meaning we look for areas locally here in the Bayview that have been either neglected in terms of caring and responsible stewardship of the land. And we rehabilitate it. We bring in native plants, we rebuild the soil, we invite the animals to return, and thereby bringing balance, creating balanced ecosystems.
Why is that important, though?
Well, honestly, let's go through a few reasons. Number one, anybody ever hear of drought? That happens a lot of times because, well, if you see a bare piece of dirt, you're looking on the ground, you see a spot where there's no grass, there's nothing growing. Usually that means the ground is so compacted, it's so hard that when it does rain, the little bit of rain that drops doesn't permeate, meaning the water doesn't go down deep into the ground and it evaporates. So when you have a balanced ecosystem, you're going to have good living soil. And we use the term porosity, meaning how porous an object is. And porous just means the ability for water to penetrate. And so when you have more porous soil, you have more water retention, thereby lessening the bad effects of drought. That's one reason we want a good ecosystem. The other reason is, yeah, you might not have a lot of mosquitoes here, but sometimes some places you do, or another kind of pest, or a lot of flies, or a lot of gnats. Whenever you have a lot of something, especially pests or insects, and I don't want to use the word pest, but insects, that means something's out of balance. And the way you balance that is you bring in biodiversity. You make the area as diverse as possible. And then when you have balance, you won't have an abundance or overabundance of a particular pest because there'll be another insect that interacts with this in the food chain, and everything is a lot smoother. Those are just two reasons that you want a balanced ecosystem. We could talk about diseases. Now, microbes, they're all around us. And what we're beginning to understand as scientists is that microbes and every living thing have a relationship.
And in the Bayview, it's San Francisco, it's city. It's we don't get to see a lot of open spaces. Before, a long time ago, there were, you could go back, and it's actually really cool to go back and look at old pictures of the Bayview, of San Francisco, and see open space and see how it's changed since the last 150 years. So 150 years ago, 200 years ago, the whole environment was very, very different, and you had very different animals there, and amphibians and insects and large carnivores, and you had more animals, you had more diversity in there. Now humans have come in and they have either pushed out or divided,
bifurcated,
which is called population fragmentation, when different populations of animals, butterfly, whatever they are fragmented. They're too far apart, and eventually those populations dwindle and die out. Or you have, like I'm sure you guys have seen coyotes, right? We're hearing about coyotes coming in again. And they were almost successfully exterminated from San Francisco. Why? Fear. A lot of people were fearful of them. They wanted to just get rid of all of the predators. And so when they did that, then there was a rise in the prey species. So again, going back to what Isaiah was saying, is once you throw something off balance, it's not good. It's not good. So, we're trying to just bring diversity back to the Bayview.
And to add on to that, okay, why the coyotes? Because of habitat destruction.
Okay, so I have one final question, and this one is, what can other young San Francisco scientists do to also help restore habitats in our city?
Well, the first thing they can do, I would say, is do and grow something. Buy some seeds, or you can buy some potatoes from your local grocery store. Find out how to plant the potatoes. Find out the growth cycle of a potato. I chose that. It's one of the easier things to grow. You cut it up, you put it in the ground, eyes facing up. A few months later, you'll see cotyledon, then the stalk will grow, leaves, then they'll turn yellow, it'll die back, and then you pull up and then, wow, I have a fistful of little potatoes. So you have to do some reading and a lot of doing. And you have the computer, you have the internet, use that, use these tools, have questions. A scientist has questions. A scientist, they are already born with a whole lot of questions in them. So it's their duty to find answers to these questions, learn by doing. And talking about habitats, observe as well. Go out into your neighborhoods, and Bayview is a great place because you still have a lot of pristine environment here. A lot of places where you can observe trees, you can observe butterflies, insects, birds. Observe and then do experiments such as grow. Growing is a great way to experiment. You can see what works, what's promoting growth, and you don't need a lot of space to begin with. You could use your windowsill if you get a lot of sun. If you have even a little space in the front or in back, you can do that. Go out into the forests.
Yeah. You could go easily there's a lot of parks in the Bayview. You can go visit the community gardens. And I think, a lot of kids nowadays have phones. So I think a really cool, activity is to go for a walk and to go bring your phone and bring a little art pad and a pencil and sit somewhere and either take a picture of a flower that you find really beautiful and play around with the filters, turn it into art.
Thank you both so much for doing this interview with us on SF Love Learning. And I really hope that all three of us will see more scientists running around and restoring habitats. So thank you again, and thank you for the wonderful tips on how we can be better scientists and help take care of our world. I appreciate it.
Oh,
thank you.
thanks, Jade.
See ya.